Assalamu alaikum. I recently reviewed a couple of ETFs, and many of you commented that the expense ratios for these ETFs was too high. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create your own ETF and avoid paying any management fee to anyone. It's super easy, so stay tuned. You may save a bunch of money by watching this video. An ETF, or an exchange-traded fund, is a group of stocks, an investment fund, that you can trade on the stock market like you would trade a single stock. Many ETFs are passively managed, meaning they just track an index and no active investment decisions are made. And these passively managed ETFs only change the composition of their portfolios whenever rebalancing is scheduled, and typically rebalancing happens either monthly or quarterly. Now, you may be wondering what rebalancing is, and so let me explain what rebalancing a portfolio is with an example. Let's say you have a portfolio that consists of two stocks, Tesla and Amazon, with the following target weights. 50% of the portfolio should be Tesla stock, and the other 50% of the portfolio should be Amazon stock. Over the next month, Tesla is up 10%, whereas Amazon is up only 5%. This means that at the end of the month, Tesla will make up 51% of the portfolio, whereas Amazon will make up only around 49% of the portfolio. And if you let this go on for too long, you may end up with a portfolio that has Tesla and Amazon at weights that are very divergent from the target weights that you set for them, which is 50% for Tesla and 50% for Amazon. To remedy this divergence from your target weights, you need rebalancing to occur. When the rebalancing occurs, the 1% extra in Tesla stock will be sold, and with the proceeds, Amazon stock will be purchased, so that the weights in the portfolio go back to 50% Tesla and 50% Amazon. So that's what's meant by rebalancing. Basically, bringing the weights of the constituents in a particular portfolio back to the target weights that were set for them. Now, some brokerage accounts provide this auto rebalancing feature. So in order to replicate the behavior of an ETF, you just need a brokerage account that has the following two features. First, the ability to buy and sell chunks of the portfolio as if they were one stock. And second, easy rebalancing so that you can bring the weights of the constituents in your portfolio back to their target weights. M1 Finance has these features, so I'm going to demonstrate how to create a ETF-like portfolio using M1 Finance. Unfortunately, M1 Finance is not available outside of the United States, so your task is to find a brokerage that has the features that I mentioned, that is automatic rebalancing and the ability to buy and sell the entire portfolio or a portion of it like you would an individual stock. Now that you've chosen a broker, the next task at hand is to choose the composition of your particular ETF. If you want to follow an already existing ETF, most ETF have their component stocks public, so they're just a Google search away. A good website to go to find out this information is finbox.com. Okay, so here I am on finbox.com. One of the cool things about finbox.com is that if you go to ideas, you can see the portfolios of famous investors. So for instance, you can see the portfolio of Warren Buffett, Carl Icahn, Bill Gates, Ray Dalio. So if I clicked on Bill Gates' portfolio, for example, I can see how the performance of this portfolio has been. This is actually the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Trust portfolio. You can see, for instance, over the past year, the assets in this portfolio have had a growth of 11.85% versus the S&P, which has had growth of 4.61%. So pretty good. And then if I go down, I can see the different holdings in this portfolio along with the weights of the different holdings in the portfolio. And if I scroll further down, I can see a bunch of other information about how many shares, the value of those shares, the industry group, and I can export all this information as an Excel spreadsheet, which is really cool. So if you're interested in mimicking Bill Gates's investing strategy, you can just come here, export the portfolio holdings as an Excel spreadsheet, delete the holdings in the portfolio that you're not comfortable with or you think are haram to invest in, and boom, instead of Bill Gates's portfolio, you have Bilal Gates's portfolio. Another really cool thing is that if you're looking to replicate the behavior of a particular ETF, let's say you want to replicate Vanguard's S&P 500 tracking ETF with the ticker VOO. If I just click on search and type in VOO, I can see Vanguard Index Funds, Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. That's the one I want. So on the VOO ETF, if I scroll down to the bottom, I can see all of the holdings in this particular ETF, as well as the percentage of portfolio that each of these holdings is of the overall portfolio for this particular ETF. And again, I can export and then delete the holdings that I think are haram or I'm not comfortable with. And I have a halal version basically of the VOO ETF without paying any management fee and without having to invest in any companies that I'm not fully comfortable with. Now, once we've decided on which companies we want our portfolio to consist of, the next step is to go to our brokerage. In this case, we're going to go to M1 Finance so that we can build a portfolio of the stocks that we've chosen. Okay, so here is the screen that you see in the M1 Finance app. This is the desktop application, by the way. This is a portfolio I created to basically replicate all of the recommendations I make on the Practical Islamic Finance YouTube channel. I wanted to make sure I was holding myself accountable to the recommendations that I made. So I wanted to make sure that I was following my own recommendations and seeing what type of return my viewers would be getting if they were following my recommendations. And alhamdulillah, the return has been quite good. I started this particular ETF with a symbolic deposit just so I could keep track of the percentage change of the portfolio if someone was following my recommendations. And I started it on April 24th, 2020. And you can see that the gain in just 2 months has been around 64%, which is pretty darn good. If you scroll down, you can see the composition of this portfolio. Tesla has 73% return, and Teladoc has around a 20%, and Slack has around an 11% return. Additionally, the weights of Tesla, I've set them as 80% of my portfolio in Tesla. Teladoc is 10% and Slack is 10%. Now you'll see that the actual weight of Tesla is 84% in my portfolio versus 8.4 for Teladoc and 7.2 for Slack. And this is because Tesla has outperformed Teladoc and Work, so its weight in my portfolio has deviated from the target weight. Now I could rebalance by bringing everything back to the target weight by simply clicking this rebalance button. However, I won't do that because if I do, they're going to sell some of my shares in Tesla, and whatever profit I made on that portion that they sold, I'm going to get taxed on. So that's something to keep in mind. So the way the rebalancing happens is that when I add any other money to this account to be deposited, it's going to automatically invest more money into Slack and Teladoc to bring them back up to 10% weight in the portfolio and bring Tesla's weight back down to 80% of the portfolio. So that's something to really pay attention to. You want to rebalance by adding more money to be invested and have that additional money invested in the underweight positions rather than selling your profitable positions, because whatever profit you made, you're going to be taxed on. Unless, of course, you're working inside a tax advantage account where your profits are not taxed, then that's a different story. But for the regular investment accounts, you want to be absolutely sure that you're not buying and selling too frequently and getting taxed on your profits. Now, how would I build the Practical Islamic Finance ETF from scratch? Well, here I'm in the edit part of the portfolio. I simply click add, and I'm brought up with this screen. If I put in Tesla, add to basket, then Slack, add this to the basket, and then finally Teladoc, add this to the basket, and then finally click add here. Now I have these 3 stocks, and by default it's going to basically give them equal weights, but I don't want them to be equally weighted. I want 80%, 10%, and 10%. And now I save. So it's going to tell me confirm these changes. So now I've created the Practical Islamic ETF. Now, if I want, whenever I add money to this account for it to be invested automatically, I just turn auto invest on. And so now if I deposit any amount of money, it's going to invest that money 80% in Tesla, 10% in work, and 10% in Teladoc. So basically, it's as if I am buying the entire portfolio according to the weights that I've specified whenever I deposit money. And similarly, if I want to sell a position, I just click here and I click on sell, and I say how much money I want to sell. It's probably going to throw an error now because I don't have, okay, it didn't throw an error. But when I indicate that I want to sell, it will sell, if I had a position, it will sell $100 of my position so that it brings back the weights of the component companies in my portfolio to the target weights that I've specified, which, as I mentioned, were 80% Tesla, 10% Slack, and 10% Teladoc. So when I'm buying, it's as if I'm buying the entire portfolio at the same time. When I'm selling, it's as if I am selling the entire portfolio at the same time according to the weights that I've specified, which is very cool. Additionally, as we saw, I have complete control over the constituents of my portfolio so that if I don't want a particular company in my portfolio, I can very easily take it out from my portfolio. So that's one way to create a ETF-like portfolio without paying the management fee and while having complete control over the constituents of your portfolio. So there you have it, an ETF that you fully control with no management fees. So I hope you found this video beneficial. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content like it. And if you earn more than $200,000 annually and you'd like to invest your money with me in a unique asset class that you really can't get access to anywhere else, then reach out using the link in the description or just go to fundmebff.com and apply to become an investor. Until next time, make sure to take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.